Greetings to all Ukrainians. This is the video that millions of Ukrainians living abroad have been waiting for. Because finally, the European Commission has given an official answer to the question that concerns millions of refugees in the EU. Do the years spent under temporary protection count toward the residency required for obtaining citizenship in a given country? And the answer is positive, extremely positive, friends, for millions of Ukrainians, because there is no prohibition. You can count your time under temporary protection toward the period required for obtaining citizenship. Each country decides this on its own. And Brussels refused to specify which countries have already made such a decision. At the same time, German municipalities are already preparing because in the spring of 2027, millions of Ukrainians who arrive by 2022 will reach 5 years of residence under temporary protection. And this is the standard period for naturalization in many countries. The publication Die Welt writes about the expected unprecedented wave of citizenship applications. And at the same time, yes, what's strange here is that at the same time, the same Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, is making promises to help Ukraine facilitate the return of its citizens back home. And here are 3 facts that don't fit into one simple picture. Let's analyze it now. So, watch the video until the end, support it with likes, comments, and subscriptions. Thank you to each of you. First of all, what exactly did the European Commission say? Let me remind you, this is basically the highest level of politics in the European Union. There is a general directive on long-term residency. This is a separate status, not citizenship, and here the rule is clear. The time spent under temporary protection does not count towards the 5 years required to obtain the status of a long-term resident of the European Union. This is established at the level of the European Union. And it is this rule that everyone confuses with actually obtaining citizenship, getting a passport of a particular country. Citizenship, however, is exclusively a national competence. Here, the European Commission confirmed that there is no general prohibition or permission. Each country decides for itself whether to count the years under temporary protection or not. Brussels does not specify which of the 27 countries have already made such a decision. So, they say that this is a matter for the states themselves. Probably they don't want to advertise one country or another so that a large number of Ukrainians don't rush there. In other words, the 5-year temporary protection period is already nearing its end. And this means that certain European Union countries will be giving passports to Ukrainians. Which countries these will be, I don't know yet. I only have information that certain German states are preparing to accept applications for NATO implementation. But if this video gets, I don't know, at least 2,000 likes, in that case, I will definitely research this issue and provide a list of European Union countries that will issue passports to Ukrainians after 5 years of temporary protection. So share with your friends and we'll figure it out. That's it. Next, yes. What does it look like in practice in Germany? We've made a separate video about this. Check it out on the channel if you haven't seen it. It was recorded and published between June 1st and 4th, where we discussed all of this in detail. Temporary protection in Germany, issued under paragraph 24, this permit by itself does not automatically count toward naturalization. That's it. Because a different status is needed, a different paragraph, for example, paragraph 18. But the decision whether to count the time under paragraph 24 is a discretionary decision of each individual commune. So, in some places they count it, in others they don't. That is, even 1,300,000 Ukrainians who are living under temporary protection in Germany. Under paragraph 24, there will be a situation where some will be given German passports and others will not. Because there is no general decision at the level of all of Germany. There are separate decisions by individual municipalities. Therefore, you might, for example, get a German passport, but your friend, I don't know, from a neighboring city might be refused. They might say no, because we do not count temporary protection. Imagine what kind of situation this creates. So, even if the 5 years are formally completed in March 2027, it doesn't mean that the application will automatically be submitted and automatically accepted. First, you need the correct status, right? So in any case, the 24th paragraph will need to be changed to another status, for example, based on employment. And you need a specific condition, a specific municipality that recognizes your years of stay under temporary protection as years required for the implementation of NATO. The Committee on Legal Affairs of the Association of German Cities is already openly talking about the growing structure. Municipalities are concerned about the expected wave of applications. Concern is not joy about integration, but anxiety about the burden on a system that is technically unprepared. That's why there are a million discretionary decisions at the same time. And that's why the newspaper Die Welt writes that some German municipalities are already expanding their staff and preparing for March 2027, that is, for the stay, for the period when Ukrainians can theoretically start massively submitting their applications. That's it. There's a small contradiction we discussed earlier, and I'd like to emphasize it again. Because on the one hand, more than 1 million Ukrainians are formally reaching 5 years of residency, and the newspaper Die Welt writes about a wave of citizenship applications. And we already have confirmation that the decision to count this time towards naturalization is a discretionary decision, meaning each municipality will decide this separately. On the other hand, Berlin is simultaneously talking about helping to facilitate the return of Ukrainians back to Ukraine. This isn't a new topic, we've discussed it many times already, so this concerns both Merz's statements and the consultations of the Ministry of Social Policy, and it also applies to the opening of unity hubs across Germany. Yes, and basically the European Union as well. And we see that on one hand, part of Germany is preparing to issue German passports to Ukrainians, while on the other hand, the central German authorities are preparing to send these Ukrainians back home. That's the situation we have. Is it even possible to reconcile these two things? They don't align as a single strategy. It's more a sign that different parts of the system are moving in different directions at the same time. Municipalities are preparing for a surge in citizenship applications, while the government at the highest level is preparing and developing repatriation programs. The European Union says, decide for yourselves, we won't get involved in this. This concerns citizenship in each country, and not just each country, but we see that even each individual body within a country decides this issue in its own way. For a person, this means one thing. There is no single scenario for what will happen in March 2027. There will be a set of individual decisions that will determine whether a person returns to Ukraine or whether a person obtains European Union citizenship and can live wherever and however they want. Next, what to do right now. I have identified 3 main steps, and if you're interested, you can follow them. First, if you are approaching the 5-year mark, don't wait for anything automatic, for someone to give you something or not give you something. Check your specific legal status to see if it is the one that gives you the right to naturalization in your country and in your region or municipality. In your area, call it whatever you want. Second, if you are specifically in Germany and have not yet switched from paragraph 24 to permanent status, it is worth doing so before the expected influx of applications in 2027. A discretionary decision made when there are few applications and when the system is overloaded with thousands of requests at the same time are different situations, both in terms of speed and outcome. And, as has already been officially stated, it was also stated that even if the commune accepts the period of stay under temporary protection, still. Before applying, you will need to change your status, switch from paragraph 24 to some other paragraph, and then apply for naturalization with that new status. And third, be sure to follow the decisions made specifically in your country and even in your region, right? Because what the European Commission has conditionally allowed, right? Getting passports for those who are under temporary protection does not mean that your country or your municipality will necessarily issue you this passport. So, these are 2 different levels of decisions, and you need to monitor both of them in parallel. So, what do you think about this, friends? Write in the comments and be sure to mention which country you're watching this video from, okay? Maybe if there are a lot of comments from certain countries, I will definitely make a separate video about getting citizenship specifically in that country. So, as we can see, this is how the situation looks today, friends. What do you think about it? Write in the comments. It will be very interesting to read your opinions. As always, I wish everyone a great day and see you next time.